UFC Vegas 100. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. And also note, I will be live for the entire UFC Vegas 100 fight card Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. I'm looking forward to it. I'm super excited to have the 100th Vegas card. And I think it's also because how good last week was with the picks and the overall, bets and parlays that I got a little more hype for this card than I initially was feeling leading up to it. So let's get after it. First fight of the night, we have Tresean Gore versus Antonio Trócoli. I'm going to pick Tresean Gore to win. I'm still a believer in his striking, enough so to pick him against Antonio Trócoli, who went out and, survived 3 rounds, you could say, with Shara Bullet. I guess that's impressive. He didn't survive a full 3, but survived over 2 rounds. The thing is, what positives do we take away? He's got okay clinch work. He can kind of throw a jab. He's 6'5". The thing is, he's 6'5", but he really doesn't seem to have much explosiveness or athleticism. He's supposed to have pretty good jiu-jitsu. When he fought on the freaking Contender Series, the dude was juiced to the absolute gills. He was a completely different fighter. He was a light heavyweight with some serious muscle size. That's not the same Antonio Trócoli that we're looking at now, okay? I got to get the hat looking even better. I'm straightening it out. I think Trócoli in this fight is going to look to pressure grapple Tresean Gore, but Gore is relatively decent with his grappling defensive abilities. He did lock up a sub against Josh Fremd in his last fight. To be fair, though, 2 years off, injury layoff, and, Tresean Gore is a bit of a meh. We don't really know exactly where his head's at. I think that he seems like he's fully dialed in and disciplined as a fighter, but I just feel like, the 2 losses with Cody Brundage knocking him out especially weren't really a good look on him. Could potentially have a bit of a glass slipper chin, even though he looked pretty solid with his stand-up on The Ultimate Fighter. And then last time out, beating Josh Fremd 2 years ago was more impressive than beating him recently. And he finished him. I mean, Andre Petroski's a pretty well-respected pressure grappler in the UFC, and he couldn't finish Josh Fremd. So you got to give Tresean Gore some praise. I think he can beat Antonio Trócoli, and don't be surprised if he beats Trócoli more impressively than Shara Bullet. That doesn't mean he's going to beat Shara, but remember, Trócoli stepped in on short notice. It was a weird scenario for, Shara Bullet to get this matchup. Tresean's been preparing for him, and I think Tresean Gore has the defensive grappling to deal with it. Striking power, exceptional. He's actually got deceptively good high kicks, even though he's fighting a 6'5" guy here. What are the odds he kicks him in the face? Maybe low. But I expect some big punches to land for Tresean Gore. I think he's going to look pretty smooth on the feet. And overall, I think that he has striking advantage, wrestling advantage. Where he's at a disadvantage would probably be with jiu-jitsu. The thing is I don't think it'll be easy for Trócoli to drag Gore down. Maybe he pulls guard, but I think Tresean Gore could do work from top. He's a minus 180 favorite. Trócoli plus 155. As far as the betting side, to give honest advice, I'd say you're betting on 2 guys that I would consider relatively unreliable at this point, simply because they don't have a ton of UFC fights. Tresean Gore, the intangible of he literally hasn't fought in 2 years. Antonio Trócoli, his debut was against Shara, and he had okay moments. He lost, but he's an ex-steroid user, which I don't necessarily love. And now he's down at middleweight, and I just feel like he's probably vulnerable for a knockout against Tresean Gore. Could be Gore by decision. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes longer. Man, over, under, minus 105 for the over, under 2.5, minus 125. I'm officially picking the knockout right now, but it won't shock me if this thing goes distance. Not really loving the pretty much even line of the over, under. I think if you have to bet it, you're going Tresean Gore straight down the center. Maybe Tresean Gore in some type of parlay. But like I said, if you have to bet it, I'm going to say that there's better bets to place on the card because Tresean Gore is literally 4-2 as a pro. I guess if you count his Ultimate Fighter fights, he's 6-2 as a pro. But he's still at a big experience disadvantage here with Antonio Trócoli, 12-4. Even though you can say, damn, but, he hasn't looked too too damn good as of recent. You still have to respect the resume. He fought Diego Lima outside of the UFC back in like 2016, right? So he's seen decent level fighters, and he fought Shara Bullet, who's a tremendous striker. I just got a feeling Tresean Gore finds a way to win, but it wouldn't shock me if Trócoli pulls off some weird submission. So we'll see what that sub prop looks like for Trócoli as they drop the props, because I'm curious about the D-Gen side. But I think Tresean Gore is better overall as a fighter with more upside potential. He should probably get a finish here. Next fight on the card, it's Kowalkiewicz Romious versus Gaston Bolaños. I'm picking Kowalkiewicz Romious to get the win. I think Gaston Bolaños is not UFC level. Even in his debut, he won, but he kind of looked like trash against Aaron Phillips. I know most of you probably don't remember that fight, but he was literally getting out-wrestled by Phillips, who is not UFC level at all. And now Bolaños is taking on Kowalkiewicz Romious, who's got good submission skills. But I think if you just look at stats, you think of him as a submission-only guy. No, he is a powerful striker. Romious is really quick and slick. He's a southpaw with legit knockout power, and he has very strong grappling skills and slick submissions. I'll say this. Gaston Bolaños comes in as an overrated striker, okay? He comes from a professional striking background, but when you watch it in MMA, don't tell me that he looks more impressive than Romious on the feet. He simply doesn't. At times, I feel he's a bit robotic, and he reaches with his straights. He does have okay straight punches, and he does have pretty good kicks, I would say. His bread and butter of his game, I'm going to say, is the kicks are better than the boxing. He comes from, Muay Thai and kickboxing, but I really feel like it hasn't adapted well to MMA. Could be, a late transition to MMA, being in his 30s now. And he did go, 1-2 in Bellator? I know he won, I think, his last Bellator fight. But I just feel like Bolaños isn't that good. And I think Romious is actually really talented. And I'm going to say Romious wins. I think sub is definitely the live prop to look at, but inside distance might be better because Romious does have knockout power. He could definitely catch Bolaños. But if you're telling me to really pick it, Mystic Mac it, I think club and sub is live in this fight, or just Romious dominating Bolaños in grappling and pulling off a submission. I have to say, even though Bolaños, he works with the guys from Team Alpha Male a bit, I really don't think his grappling is going to be near the level of Romious, and I feel as though you got to favor Romious to win this fight in striking and grappling. He's slicker and quicker on the feet, and I think he's got a big grappling edge. I'm going to say Romious gets his hand raised. I guess some relative concerns are, Ramon Tavares brutally chinned him on Contender Series 2 seasons ago, but he bounced back nicely this season and dominated Michael Imparato. Pretty clean win for him, and Imparato's actually a pretty solid grappler, and he outworked him in all the grappling exchanges. So Romious to get it done. I'll say submission. I think he wins this fight. He's a minus 210 favorite. Bolaños plus 180. Let's see what the under is. Under 2.5 is minus 205. So anticipation for a finish is high, and I'm going to predict that it is high. I'm trying to not flame Bolaños too hard, but coming from a pro striking background, I really feel like he's robotic with his boxing at the least. Like, I like the kicks from the outside, but he's got a simplistic game. If you're watching previous fights, he's like overthrowing his right hand. He doesn't really have much versatility to his striking attack. Romious just looks like the better striker. So just because you fought in pro kickboxing and Muay Thai doesn't mean you're a better striker than a pro MMA fighter. And I'm going Kowalkiewicz Romious for the finish and probably the submission. Next fight, let's keep running. Ladies going after it. Melissa Mullins versus Klaudia Syguła. I'm picking Melissa Mullins. I wanted to pick Klaudia in this fight, but when I watched more tape on her, I was like, okay, watch her last fight. It was some weird mixed rules fight against an ex-pro boxer. Watch the fight before. I'm like, all right, she's got some grappling. And then I was trying to dig back further. I watch her fight this Brazilian girl, and then I go and I see her fight this Ukrainian chick. And she won by robbery decision. She was on her back for the first 2 rounds, getting completely controlled and getting thrown around. Melissa Mullins has got high-level grappling. Melissa Mullins has nice wrestling, good takedowns and control. She's a pretty good-sized girl for women's bantamweight. I mean, she can't even make weight. Hopefully she makes weight this time out. Thing is, too, X factor in the fight, you got to think. Klaudia's coming in on short notice. Originally, it was supposed to be Mullins versus, I believe, Montserrat Rendon. So the switch of opponents here is actually, I think, favorable for Mullins. She was preparing for a really strong grappler, and Mullins' style being grappling, I don't think she was intending on, turning into a kickboxer to try to knock Montserrat Rendon out. I think she was anticipating a heavy grappling attack and showing that she's better on the ground. I would say Klaudia is a bit cleaner with her stand-up, but it's not incredibly better. I mean, it's definitely better. It's definitely slightly slicker, but she doesn't really have a ton of power. She has like a relatively well-versed kickboxing striking style, but the grappling she has showcased in previous fights, and she's garnered good control time, works from top, beats opponents up. She does have knockout ability, but I just feel like Melissa Mullins has a real chance to body her with wrestling and probably grind out a win, especially with Klaudia coming in on short notice. I actually don't know how she'll look in the later rounds. I would assume, being 25, she's staying in shape all year. But when you have a pressure wrestling attack from Mullins, it's not easy to deal with. Melissa Mullins is a weird one, right? She won her debut against Irina Alekseeva, and Alekseeva was a promising prospect with good striking, and she kind of exposed her. And then Nora Cornell ends up finishing her with body shots. And granted, Klaudia's last fight, it was body shot knockout too. But bro, 6-9, right? 1-0. 5-2, 0-1. And then this is the girl that beat her. It was a 3-0-1 girl. And granted, she won the decision. But if you go and watch the fight, it looks like she clearly lost the first 2 rounds. I think Melissa Mullins probably outworks her in the grappling. Wouldn't be like overly confident on a Melissa Mullins pick. And she's a chalky favorite, which kind of sucks. I mean, minus 230 to get the win. Syguła plus 200 is a dog. I'm saying this. You're going for Klaudia as an underdog because you want to back a women's dog. She's unproven against any high-level girls. You have to respect resumes in this game. Look at this. Win, Daria Zelenjniakova, and she really overcame a beating early in that fight. She was getting destroyed on the feet, and she beat Zelenjniakova, who's in the UFC now. Irina Alekseeva win, UFC fighter, right? Nora Cornell lost, but still, UFC fighter. And I think with Klaudia, it's been no good opposition. So I need to see her fight somebody good and get a win. She hasn't fought anybody with skill. I mean, she's coming in fighting a 6-9 girl in her last fight. I'm going with Melissa Mullins to find her way to get it done. I think she's going to win probably with a heavy pressure grappling attack, and she'll outwork Syguła, Klaudia, on the ground. Over is minus 250. I mean, it's pretty live to go over. I'm going to say Mullins gets her hands raised. The odds favoring Mullins, but I feel like, when you look at Tapology, right, 62% of the people are going for the underdog here. I know she's got the pretty face, and sometimes you guys are blindsided by the face, but you got to think, man. Melissa Mullins had it rougher growing up. She don't got the looks like Syguła. Syguła could be doing OF, right? She could be doing modeling. Melissa Mullins has to fight, and I think Melissa Mullins is going to win the fight, so I'm picking her. I think we're going for the gritty British girl to take out the pretty Polish chick. So Mullins for the win. Let's keep running. Next fight, we have Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear. I'm going to pick Damon Blackshear. He's an interesting case, right? Montel Jackson, he got absolutely killed against, and I had him as a confident pick that week. I was locking him up. I was like, yo, Damon's going to pull this off. He should have beat Mario Batista. Now he got killed in one punch. This matchup, I think a lot better for him. He's got a massive height and reach advantage. I think he's also better at jiu-jitsu than Cody Stamann. Stamann's got relatively good wrestling, but I kind of feel like he's a bit washed at this point. He's 35 years old. His birthday is on fight day, which I don't know, man. It's like you can say, yo, that's an advantage, bro. It's his birthday. Listen, Rafael dos Anjos was the birthday boy heading into his last fight, and he got absolutely destroyed and blew his knee out against Jeff Neal. So I think that Blackshear brings a good grappling base, and I think that he can exceed the grappling of Stamann. I don't think Stamann has a ton of wrestling success, and potentially like Stamann looking to shoot and engage in grappling here puts him into some type of submission. And I think Blackshear could land takedowns. I mean, he took down Mario Batista. I honestly felt like he could have won that fight. It was really close. And now Mario Batista is a top 15 guy in the world. Yes, it was a horrible loss to Montel Jackson, but Montel is also now ranked inside of the top 15. Cody Stamann's got okay boxing. He's got decent hooks from close range. But like I said, I feel like he's out of his prime. I think this is a hard stylistic matchup. Blackshear's striking is fine. He's not dealing with a heavy power puncher, an incredible slick guy. I think Blackshear wins, and I think he's live for a submission too. I think he can shine on the ground. I think he can outstrike Stamann, but I definitely think he can outwork him and outgrapple him as well. The odds for the fight, Blackshear minus 275. Damn, it's wide. And then Stamann plus 235. Give me the chalky call. Give me the chalky locky type shit. I'm going Blackshear. I like Blackshear. While over is minus 360. Blackshear's got good submissions, man. The under at plus 285 is interesting. I want to see what that sub prop drops at, because Blackshear's got a twister win. He's got that, finish on the ground of Luana Lacerda. Blackshear's a finisher. You look at a lot of his fights, he's getting finishes. He's not missed a decision. I mean, you can see 9 submissions with 2 KOs and then only 3 decisions. Most of the time, when he's winning, he's getting finishes. And I think he's live to submit Cody Stamann in this fight. So I'm going to go with Blackshear to snap the 2-fight losing streak. He'll send Cody Stamann on 3 down. He lost to Lapalus and Douglas Silva de Andrade. To be fair, close with Silva de Andrade. And, he got outworked by Lapalus. And you guys who follow the channel know I rate Lapalus as, pretty good. Lapalus is, close to the top 15. I rate Lapalus as a top 20 gatekeeper, essentially. And I think Blackshear is going to take out Cody Stamann. He should win this fight and probably is live to win by submission. And he gets a little momentum back on his side. He's better than his 14-7-1 record, that's for sure. And he's definitely better than his last fight. Let's keep running. Next one, we got Charles Radtke versus Matthew Semelsberger. I'm going to pick Chuck Buffalo, Charles Radtke to win. I got a lot of worry about Semelsberger being past his best days at this point. He recently had surgery on his arm, which required 6 months of recovery and rehab. And, I think he hasn't really been looking good. He looked okay in moments against Preston Parsons, but he got absolutely outdogged. He got finished by Uros Medic. He was close with Jeremiah Wells. He dropped him a couple times, but I think that Charles Radtke is a hard matchup for Matt Semelsberger. Radtke's got pretty good power. He's got nice hooks, definitely a clean left hook. He knocked out Gilbert Urbino with that left hook. But he's also got a relatively strong grappling game. He trains alongside Bilal Muhammad. And I really feel like Charles Radtke could outdog and outwork Matt Semelsberger over the 3 rounds, or potentially pull off a stoppage in a pretty gritty back and forth fight. The way Semelsberger likes to fight is dog fights. He likes to scrap. That's his style. Radtke thrives in those type of fights too. He's a good pressure wrestler, and he also just has good pressure with his striking too, right? He walks you down and he throws hard shots. And I feel like he could hurt Matt Semelsberger. I don't think he's going to give Semelsberger a lot of room to strike. So Semelsberger will be caught up in a brawl in close. And then I think Radtke could time some takedowns. But if it's straight striking, I don't think Radtke's out of the fight at all. I mean, Radtke's last fight, he got destroyed. Brutal knee to the body against Prates, who's now in the main event of this card and is on his way into the top 15. Really not a horrible loss for Radtke looking back at it. Semelsberger down 3 in a row, 1-4 in his last 5. Momentum's definitely not in his favor. I got to say, Radtke probably, he sends it to 4 losses in a row for Semelsberger. He probably sends Semelsberger to the regional scene, unfortunately for Semelsberger. But I'm going to go with Charles Radtke. I'm going Chuck Buffalo to win. I think he pulls this one out against Semi the Jedi. Odds for the fight, not wide, minus 157 for Charles Radtke. Semelsberger around plus 137. So Semelsberger, he should be the underdog in this fight. I mean, he definitely has KO power. Could he land a big shot and maybe shock Radtke? It wouldn't be insane, but I don't know, man. He looks too clunky as of late. I feel like his reflexes are a little off, and now we got an arm surgery to worry about. Things just seem to be going against Semelsberger. Too many worries for me to back him with a pick or a bet. The under is minus 105. The over minus 125. Close money on that. I think Radtke can pull through. Close money favorite. Bettable line. I think he'll definitely sweat in the fight because it's not like Semelsberger is just going to lay down. But I think Semelsberger could be worse than his last fight. And he just got outdogged pretty rough against Preston Parsons. And I think he's losing here to Radtke too. Radtke's got nice hands. I like his boxing in close range. I like that left hook. I think he's going to throw hard shots. I think he'll land some big ones. He could potentially put Semelsberger out. But if they go to the ground, I think Radtke also is the guy that ends up on top. So Charles Radtke for the win over Matt Semelsberger. Let's keep running up the prelims. Our next fight, we have Mansour Abdul-Malik versus Duško Todorović. Yo, it's Mansour Abdul-Malik all day. I think Todorović has already been exposed. I mean, you look at his 3 UFC wins. What, Maki Pitolo, right? Jordan Wright, and the fight before that, who was it? Man, now I can't even remember the name of who was before that. He's outside of the UFC now. Daquan Townsend. He got knocked out by Puna Soriano. He's been trading wins and losses as of recent. Leroy Duncan fight, he did get injured. That was unfortunate. But fight before, in the first round, he got the shit kicked out of him on the ground by Jordan Wright, who is literally a karate striker. So I really don't like Duško Todorović much in this matchup with Mansour Abdul-Malik, who's a thriving prospect. If you look, Mansour Abdul-Malik is a pressure-based grappler, but he does have relatively decent kickboxing too. Definitely like a bit of natural punching power, and he outdogs his opponents. He beat Wes Schultz on the Contender Series this past season. Schultz had a couple moments, and Schultz is a good wrestler, but Abdul-Malik just beat the shit out of him at the end, getting on top and pounding him away. And I think that Abdul-Malik is live to do the same type of thing here. I really feel like Todorović, he's kind of, I don't know, looking like a UFC washout, at least on the way to becoming one. His UFC wins have aged like milk, man. Really not good wins. I think Malik probably gets this fight to the ground. I think he's got the gas tank to push hard. He's got good size, too, for middleweight. Long reach, 80 inches. I think Malik puts the pace on Todorović, gets on top of him, beats the shit out of him. I think Abdul-Malik for a finish. Pretty confident call. I think he's a promising prospect at 6-0. He's definitely got like a bit of a natural athleticism to him. Freakish specimen. Built well for this middleweight division with strong wrestling and ground and pound. I don't think Duško Todorović is going to have the goods for him. So I'm going with Mansour Abdul-Malik to get a violent finish. Chalky favorite again. Minus 340 for Abdul-Malik, and then Todorović sitting at plus 280. So give me Abdul-Malik. Let's see. It's probably a 1.5. Yep. Over 1.5, I would rather just go under 2.5. The over 1.5 is a maybe, right? Todorović could survive, but Malik could get him out early. It depends. If he gets the full mount or the back in round 1, this thing could be wraps relatively quick. I'm going to say Mansour Abdul-Malik inside distance is a money call. Official pick is going to be the KO TKO. I think he's going to end up getting ground and pound. You can see, I mean, he's a finisher for sure. 4 out of the last 5. KO, TKO, a lot of ground and pound in the mix. And then he's got a submission here a year and a half ago. He fought Zion Tomlinson Sr. I think his son fights in BKFC, or at least he used to. That's interesting. I remember that name when I was covering BKFC. I think Mansour Abdul-Malik is good to go. Dominant win incoming. He's going to run over Duško Todorović. I don't think this is a close fight. I think this is one-way traffic, a bit of a setup fight for him. He's 6'2", 80-inch reach. He should be fine on the feet, and on the ground he's going to be exceptional, and he's going to run Duško Todorović over. Let's keep running. Next fight, it brings us to our featured prelim of the night. It's Nicolas Dalby versus Elizeu Zaleski 2. These guys literally fought in both of their UFC debuts. Now, nearly a decade later, they run it back. The first time, Dalby won a split decision. The second time, I'm going to say Dalby wins another split decision. This fight is so damn close. When you look at Zaleski, he does have pretty strong Muay Thai striking. He's still got some power in his hooks. I mean, he did a lot of damage a few fights ago to Benoit Saint-Denis on the feet. He's definitely always game. He's always looking for knockout punches. He's a guy that doesn't back down. He keeps coming forward. He hits really hard. I mean, he did big damage to Rinat Fakhretdinov late in their fight. He was beating him up. But to be fair, Fakhretdinov had him badly hurt in the first round and kind of gassed himself. Dalby gave Fakhretdinov all he could handle last time and ended up losing by a close split decision. For Zaleski, he had a draw with him. Dalby's got one of those monstrous pressure-paced styles. Like, he's going to outwork you. He's going to keep coming forward and mixing up shots. Isn't like the most technically sound guy. No, he's just built on pure grit. He's in your face. He's not backing down, and he's making you uncomfortable. That's his style. Zaleski does pretty well in fights in close range where he can swing big shots. I think both guys are landing big ones. I think it's a close back and forth. I think the reason that these odds are about even is because this is essentially 50-50. It was close the first time. It's going to be close this time. I'm going to take Nicolas Dalby by split decision over Elizeu Zaleski in a coin flip. The odds are even. -113 Dalby, -107 Zaleski. I think there'll be nerve-wracking moments for both, but it'll probably go over 2.5, which is -400. Of course, it's already super wide. Yeah, this is going to be a cool fight. Dalby coming off the Renat loss, but before that, he had a nice win streak. Exposed Gabriel Bonfim, who was a really promising prospect. Beat Salikov, who's an OG. Warley Alves, who's an OG. And then Claudio Silva, who honestly was an OG too. Zaleski on the other side. Last time, Randy Brown kind of pieced him up. He got kneed in the face a bit. The draw with Fakhretdinov, where he was hurt early, but he honestly finished that fight incredibly, beating Fakhretdinov up. Close with Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov, which hasn't aged well. Beat the hell out of Benoit Saint-Denis, which I think did age well. And then lost by split decision to Salikov. I'm going Nicolas Dalby on a split decision. I expect a close fight. I think it'll be a fun back and forth. I think both land big shots. I think Dalby has the pressure advantage. Zaleski might be like a little slicker on the feet, but Dalby's going to give him no space to work. And I think we're just going to get a close range, dirty boxing type of fight. And I think Dalby outdogs him by a tad. Probably 29-28 on the judges' scorecard. So I'm going to say it's probably a split decision. One judge will give it to Zaleski. Close fight. I'm picking Dalby. Let's keep running. Let's jump to our main card opener. If you guys have not yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe it up. We got the ladies starting the main card off. Luana Pinheiro versus Jillian Robertson. I'm picking Jillian Robertson all day long. She should win by submission. Luana Pinheiro, she's overrated AF, okay? She's ranked, but, like, she really isn't. I mean, she had a really close split over Michelle Waterson a year and a half ago. Fight before that, she beat Sam Hughes, and fight before that, she quit. I mean, it was an illegal upkick by Randa Marcos 3.5 years ago, but I think she could have continued. So she's ranked because of this win, and, you know, we saw Michelle Waterson Gomes take on Jillian Robertson and get absolutely destroyed. Jillian Robertson is a monstrous grappler who has really evolved her overall game. She's actually good now. Like, you look at her record, 14-8. On paper, it's like, man, she's taking something else. But look at the last 5. Dominant win over Michelle Waterson. Destroyed Polyana Viana. You know, decision lost to Tabitha Ritchie, but Ritchie's amongst the higher level girls. Submitted Piera Rodriguez and submitted Mariah Agapova. Jillian Robertson's got really good submissions. She's good at taking backs and strangling girls. She can outwork a lot of ladies on the ground. Luana Pinheiro is known for a judo base, but don't get it twisted. She's a striker, and she fights with a very movement-based style. She kind of likes to avoid exchanges and just kickbox from range, and she looks to pick her shots. I think she's got a questionable gas tank. She doesn't have much of a knockout chance. She definitely doesn't have any sub chance. I think Jillian Robertson puts her on her back, beats her up, and submits her. I'm going Jillian Robertson for the win. I definitely see her getting her hand raised. This is a confident ladies pick. It's like Pinheiro's on her way out of the UFC. Jillian Robertson's on her way up, and she's looking better and better each fight, to be fair. Last time out, Angela Hill got the gilly on Pinheiro, and then fight before that, Hebos finished her. I think Jillian Robertson's good to win this thing. I think she'll outwork Luana Pinheiro. She'll take her down, and she's going to finish her on the floor. So Jillian Robertson for the win, and I am going to say by submission. And the odds are crazy wide. -310. Damn. And then Pinheiro's +260. Damn, these odds have spread. Over is +120, under -150. I'm kind of feeling like this fight's going to go under. I'm going to say Robertson is very live to finish, but it could be 3 rounds of dominant grappling work. But I feel like Pinheiro's finishable. Last time out, getting gillied by Angela Hill, who's known for her striking, not her submissions. And now you throw a Jillian Robertson, who's known for those ground skills. I think Robertson does work, and I think Robertson gets a finish. So Robertson, submission, to start off the main card with a pretty confident ladies pick. Next fight on the card, we have Gerald Meerschaert versus Reinier de Ridder. I am picking Reinier de Ridder, and if you don't know who Reinier de Ridder is, I'll give you a brief rundown. He is the former two-weight one championship champion. He beat Angla and Sang, who was like a star there at one point. Now, he does have 2 losses most recently in one championship. It was against Anatoly Malikin. I always botch his name, so if I said it wrong, I'm sorry. 2 losses to him back-to-back. Did get a win over in UAE Warriors before getting signed to the UFC. But to be fair, like, he lost to Anatoly, and I'm going to be straight up. Anatoly is on roids. Okay, they don't drug test like they do in the UFC over in one championship. So against natural athletes, I think de Ridder's pretty good. He's a southpaw. He doesn't have exceptional striking, but it's competent. Like Gerald Meerschaert and Reinier de Ridder, I don't want to say they have similar styles, but there's similarities to the two. Both guys really thrive on the ground. I just think de Ridder has probably a little bit more clean striking. And he's a little better with fights going to the floor, like getting them offensively. I think he has an easier job of like not just getting the shit kicked out of him and then coming back, winning by submission. De Ridder is better at creating the opportunities for his submission finish, whereas Meerschaert is better at surviving opponents' onslaughts to then counter and get submission finishes. I don't think Reinier de Ridder's going to go out crazy and gas himself, right? Gerald Meerschaert thrives in fights against powerful fighters with knockout ability in their hands who get overconfident, right? Looking for the finish. And then Meerschaert has a fighter who doesn't stop him, and then he's able to find the submission against him. Like we saw that last time, right? Edmund Shabazian was beating his ass. And then Shabazian goes crazy for the finish like a moron with big ground and pound. And then Meerschaert gets it to the floor and finishes him off. Beats Brian Barberena, who has no submission skills whatsoever. He's now taken on a Reinier de Ridder who's exceptional on the floor. And I think that de Ridder is a very interesting addition to the UFC middleweight division. He's a talented guy, and he's got really good submissions. And I think that he can outwork Gerald Meerschaert. It wouldn't be insane if GM3 was outworked on the ground for 3 rounds and de Ridder takes a decision. But I think there is a real possibility that Reinier de Ridder submits Gerald Meerschaert. I know Meerschaert's got good offensive submissions, but you have to be realistic. He's still lost by submission 8 times. Now, 29 wins by sub is absolutely insane, but de Ridder has 12 wins by submission, right? And he's only got 17 wins as a pro. A lot more fight experience for Meerschaert. I think Reinier de Ridder is going to win this fight. I think he's live to find the submission. He's been good in the damn one championship. Aside from the losses to Anatoly, he's got a very creative submission attack, and he was caught by Vitaly Bigdash early in that fight in a ghillie, but he was able to escape and then hit a damn inverted triangle. Reinier de Ridder's a fun guy to watch, as is GM3, to be fair. I'm not trying to flame GM3. He's a good dude. I just think Reinier de Ridder is better than him. And I actually think this is one of the worst style matchups for Gerald Meerschaert because it's a guy who fights relatively patient. Now, I won't lie to you. I didn't love de Ridder's last fight against Anatoly because he quit in round 3. But again, he was fighting a guy on steroids. So is it really fair? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he going to quit like that against GM3? I don't think so. I'm going to go with Reinier de Ridder to win. I think he can pull this one off. De Ridder is minus 280 as the favorite. Meerschaert plus 240 as the underdog. Now, looking over is minus, 205, over 1.5? Meerschaert's pretty gritty. I think we are live to go over. I'm feeling like de Ridder could end up winning maybe like a 3rd round sub. I mean, it could happen earlier, but tapping Meerschaert early is a very tough task. And on the opposite side, de Ridder getting tapped early, very tough task. De Ridder's never been submitted as a pro. He's been finished against Anatoly. The only guy that's beaten him, he beat him twice. He knocked him out once, and he TKO'd him the second time. I think de Ridder can win in the UFC debut, and I actually think this is a really fun signing. I'm curious how far de Ridder can take it. I definitely feel like he beats a GM3, and then from here, I mean, there's massive opportunities. If he wins this fight and he wins it impressively, de Ridder could find himself in a big fight heading into that top 15. I don't think his skill set is like too far away from the top 15 guys. And with a tricky grappling game in a division that is held down by a lot of high-level strikers, de Ridder's an interesting player, and I'm looking forward to it. Reinier de Ridder, the Dutch Knight for the finish. Probably the submission, but could win a decision. He gets the win. Next fight, we have Ricky Turcios versus Bernardo Sopaj. I'm going to pick Bernardo Sopaj. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think Turcios, He's okay with volume striking, but he really isn't that good. He's got good dexterity on the ground. He's kind of got good submissions. He's decent with wrestling. I mean, he's overall a relatively decent fighter. I just feel like Sopaj has some exceptional skills, which I'll name for you. Sopaj has legit knockout power in his hands. He's got a massive overhand right. He also has very good wrestling and very good grappling in his own right, and also has a nice scrambling ability. In his UFC debut, he got violently KO'd by Vinicius Oliveira, but he was winning moments in that fight. And before round 2 went awry, he was looking really good. His striking looked quality. His grappling and wrestling control looked quality. Vinicius Oliveira is just an extremely talented prospect with, freak striking and catches him with a brutal flying knee. The thing is, when you get knocked out like that could be a career ender. But Ricky Turcios does not have much power. Ricky Turcios' best ways to win fights are normally getting fights to the ground, right? And showcasing his grappling. Last time, Raul Rosas won by submission against him. I think Bernardo Sopaj is pretty live in this fight, actually, to get a knockout. Turcios was KO'd on the regional scene before, though he hasn't been KO'd in the UFC. You can see Sopaj's got 7 KOs. Granted, he's also got 3 submissions and a competent ground game. I'm kind of feeling like Sopaj can catch him with a big right hand. I don't think Turcios is going to be able to get Sopaj to the ground. Now, Sopaj could be the one engaging in grappling, looking to do work from top position and maybe searching for a submission on Turcios. But if they engage in striking, I got to favor Sopaj as a substantially more effective kickboxer with way more punching power. So I like Sopaj's chances to win in this fight a lot. There's very positive takeaways from the Oliveira fight, obviously, aside from him getting kneed in the face and violently KO'd in one of the best knockouts of the year. But I think he bounces back. He's still only 24. He's a really talented guy. Turcios, he honestly did okay in the first round with Raul. He had his back. He was looking for that rear naked. He's got good submissions. He's tricky on the ground, but Sopaj has good defense. He won't allow him to get those positions. I don't think Turcios is pulling off a surprise sub. I think Sopaj is winning this thing. It's more a matter of, does he get the finish? Is he violent? We'll find out. Sopaj minus 270, big favorite. Turcios plus 230. I got to go with the side of Sopaj. Over is minus 200. Sopaj's got power. Watch for that right hand. He's got KOs. He's also got deceptively good high kicks. I know Turcios has been good in his UFC run as far as his durability's gone, but remember this fight here. Don't forget, Mano Martinez KO'd him. So he's been put out before. Mano's got a bit of power, but as does Sopaj. So I'm going to say Sopaj's live for a KO, but it wouldn't be crazy if he wins 3 rounds, and he plays it on the safer side, especially because of how his last fight went. But I'm definitely feeling Bernardo Sopaj to get an impressive one and, get his first UFC W. He's a talented fighter. He's somebody with a lot of promise, and I think he's going to beat Ricky Turcios. Next fight, ladies going after in the featured fight. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Denise Gomes. I'm going to be picking Denise Gomes in this fight. Though I didn't love her against Eduarda Moura because she was kind of tired in the 3rd round and didn't look super explosive. And Kowalkiewicz, say what you want about her, she does have a tricky 3-round gas tank and she kind of never quits. And to be fair, her most recent loss, she got absolutely outworked by Lucindo in grappling. Whereas I'd be kind of surprised if Denise Gomes out-grapples Kowalkiewicz. I expect more of the striking from Denise Gomes to be her key to victory. She does have good flurrying punches. She does have quick hands. She does have power. She's definitely more explosive than Kowalkiewicz. She's definitely faster, and she hits harder. Kowalkiewicz is a weird one, though, because she does have decent punches from range. She is relatively durable, and she does have solid jiu-jitsu. The thing is, she hasn't really beaten anybody that great in a long time. Win over Diana Belbita, who's meh. I think that Denise Gomes dominates that one. Demopoulos, meh. Gomez Juarez, definitely meh. And then Felice Herrig, who she had beaten before her 5-fight losing streak, and then she beat her to snap the losing streak. So I think Kowalkiewicz is probably going to lose this fight by a decision. I think Denise Gomes has successful moments with striking. Hard fight, too. Eduarda Moura is a big girl. Eduarda Moura is a strong grappler, trains with Jailton Almeida, and Denise Gomes is able to survive that onslaught. Lost to Angela Hill, but Angela Hill is slick as hell. And then she knocked out Horigi in vicious fashion. She really exposed Horigi's chin, and then obviously, Horigi got knocked out in the last fight, too. Bruna Brazil knockout's impressive. And then a loss to Loma Lukbume, but not really a bad L. Lukbume's got tricky Muay Thai and decent takedowns. I think Denise Gomes by decision, but I do worry about her gas tank. I don't know. Like, Kowalkiewicz is a weird fighter. She could potentially give Gomes trouble late, but I think Gomes is going to definitely jump ahead in the first 2 rounds. So I see her winning a decision, 29-28, maybe 30-27. I think Denise Gomes can beat a nearly 40-year-old Karolina Kowalkiewicz. As far as the odds for the fight, Kowalkiewicz is a plus 350 underdog with Gomes at minus 450. Just to be straight up, these odds are way too wide for what this fight is. Like, if you would have had it at minus 200 for Gomes, I would say that's fair, but minus 450? At open, it was even minus 325. Like, I know Kowalkiewicz is past her best days. She's that washed, according to the books. Damn. You got to really lay the chalk down if you're trying to bet Denise Gomes, or you got to parlay her. Probably going over, though, at minus 355. I think Kowalkiewicz got a good enough chin to survive. I would be pretty impressed if Denise Gomes knocks out even a 40-year-old Karolina Kowalkiewicz. That'd be pretty crazy. I'm going to go with Gomes as the pick. I think she wins this fight. And let's keep running up. We got 2 massive fights left. The co-main event of the evening. We got Cody Garbrandt versus Miles Johns. I'm picking Cody Garbrandt to win. I'm picking Cody no love. I will tell you why, because going back and rewatching recent Cody Garbrandt fights, he's still incredibly slick and quick with his striking. He's actually kind of looking more calm than he ever has before. He picks his shots a lot nicer, and he doesn't force things as much as he used to. Questionable chin, it's still got to be there, but I don't know. I don't think it's as glass as advertised, right? He gets flamed a lot as having an absolute glass slipper chin, but I don't know, man. I think that Cody Garbrandt's got a better chin than we think. He can eat a decent one. He's definitely adopted a more patient striking style, and I think that he's as fast as ever. And to be honest, I felt like he outstruck Figgy in their fight. He landed some good shots against Figueiredo, and then when it got to the ground, he was absolutely done. Figueiredo destroyed him on the ground. But I like Cody Garbrandt on the feet, and now on the opposite side, we have a Miles Johns who's a pretty well-rounded guy with good physicality. He's got a bit of power in his overhands, but he's not nearly as accurate or precise to the target as Cody Garbrandt is with his boxing. Though he's explosive and he has some knockout ability, I wouldn't consider him a knockout artist, and he definitely does not have near as crisp hands as Cody Garbrandt does. Now, to be fair, decent leg kicks on the side of Miles Johns, which, you know, Cody Garbrandt has seen a little bit of a vulnerability, at least early in the Kelleher fight with those leg kicks, but I believe that it's going to be a shored up skill set. I think that he's probably working a lot on avoiding those kicks. His team's got access to Miles Johns' footage too, as do I, as do all of us. I also think Miles Johns has a decent wrestling threat, but not a major submission threat. And in this matchup here, maybe could time couple takedowns and get on top of Garbrandt, but I still think Garbrandt has good get-up ability, and don't be fooled by Deiveson Figueiredo running him over to think that now he's going to get ran over on the ground by Miles Johns, who is levels below Deiveson Figueiredo in grappling and in wrestling, to be fair. Figueiredo is elite. Figueiredo is fighting Petr Yan in a fight that could potentially be a top contender fight. Say what you want, Umar's next in line, but you still get what I'm saying. It's a massive fight. Cody Garbrandt goes from fighting one of the best at bantamweight to now taking on like a top 20, top 25 difficult guy to deal with. Good record, Miles Johns. I pick Miles Johns often, but I'm not picking him here because I went back and watched Douglas Silva de Andrade fight. He's throwing big looping shots, but I'm like, dude, Cody can counter the fuck out of that. If you look at the levels of fighting, right, let's say there's 3 aspects of the game: striking, wrestling, and grappling. I would say striking is obviously Garbrandt's. Now, I would slightly favor Johns offensively in the wrestling department, but I don't think that he's really going to be able to consistently get past the defensive wrestling of Cody Garbrandt, which historically is relatively good. And he's got a wrestling base. He's a team alpha male guy at heart. Even though he's training with strong style a lot, he's still team alpha male, and they wrestle good. Now, I would say Johns maybe top control would exceed Garbrandt's top control, but actually as an effective tool in this fight, I think we got good get-ups on the side of Cody Garbrandt. So the most obvious advantage for me is the striking of Garbrandt is substantially better. And I don't think Johns has great success with the offensive wrestling attack. And his style as of recent has showcased a lot of striking. He likes to strike. He likes to throw punches, and he throws a lot of good power shots, but not to the level of guys of Cody Garbrandt. Has he showcased wrestling? Absolutely. But Cody Garbrandt's got exceptional footwork. Now, to be fair, we are in the small cage. We've seen at the UFC Apex, Miles Johns get wins before. Could that be a factor? Maybe. Garbrandt, to me, still looks as fluid as ever before, but the worry is the chin. But the level difference between a Figueiredo fight and this one is massive. And as good as he looked in the first round, if he was able to avoid the grappling onslaughts, right, there's a potential for Cody Garbrandt doing damage to Figgy on the feet. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for him or anything like that, but I'm just taking that into consideration when predicting this matchup. I think Cody Garbrandt can outstrike Miles Johns and avoid his grappling attack. I still believe Cody Garbrandt has legit power, but he could go out and pick Miles Johns apart to a hard-fought decision. There's also the chance of the knockout. I like the Cody Garbrandt pick. I'm going to go with Cody No Love Garbrandt to pull off the upset, and I think he's being a bit overlooked. I mean, he's getting picked online. I guess 66% of Tapology picking him, but he's sitting at the underdog tag plus 120. He opened up as a favorite. The line flipped. Miles Johns is now minus 140. I think Cody Garbrandt can win this fight. I think he's being a bit overlooked. I was surprised to see that this isn't just an even line, or realistically, Cody Garbrandt is the favorite, because Johns doesn't have near the same resume. Over is minus 140. I don't like the over. There's a chance for a Garbrandt knockout. Looking at it, Garbrandt 1-1 past 2. I guess 2-1 in the past 3. Trevin Jones fight, I'll call it a get your footing fight. Then he easily worked Kelleher, and then he lost to Figgy, but had moments. On the opposite side, Miles Johns, he's essentially on a 4-fight win streak, besides, a no contest for whatever, the failed drug test. I guess you gotta say it's a failed drug test. It's not a good look. He beat up Dan Argueta in that fight, though, but yeah, failed drug test. Vince Morales win, Cody Gibson win, and Douglas Silva de Andrade win. Whereas Cody Garbrandt, I mean, he's coming off the Figgy fight, which is massive. I think Cody Garbrandt can win. Whether it's a decision or maybe a counter shot KO, I think he can deal with Miles Johns striking. I definitely think Johns is going to look to engage in wrestling, but I think Cody Garbrandt will be pretty resilient with wrestling defense. So I'm going to do the Cody No Love Garbrandt underdog call. I'm going to pop in a Zin as a dedication to Cody No Love. So shout out to him. I'm going with the underdog in the co-main event. I got a feeling with Cody No Love that he's getting overlooked here. Next fight. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you subscribe and also smash that like button. Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates. Of course I'm picking Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates is that guy. I'm a big fan. He's an elite kickboxer who's exceptional from the outside, who reminds me of a blend between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya, and his striking is definitely top 10. His overall game, if he can defend takedowns as well as, we've kind of seen, he's got like an 80% takedown defense rate. He was taken down once by Mitch Ramirez on Contender Series, to be fair. And Neil Magny, I promise you, is going to look to wrestle him. But I think we'll see solid defensive abilities by Prates. And even if Magny has success tying Prates up early in the fight, Prates then will start to find strikes from distance. And I believe he'll be okay at separating from the clinch positions. Now, Neil Magny is coming off of a bad loss to Michael Morales. He was finished in the first round. But don't forget, he was having success in the clinch against the cage, wearing on Michael Morales before Morales was able to escape and hit him with the spin elbow that dropped him. And then he just got absolutely destroyed with ground and pound. Still, though, Neil Magny is the ultimate gatekeeper. He's got good clinch work. He's got good control against the cage. He's not a great finisher. Even, a recent win for him against Mike Malott, he was losing that whole fight until the very end, but he doesn't give up on himself. Also, I mean, even his win against Phil Rowe, the win before that, split decision, way too close for comfort, and I don't rate Phil Rowe amongst the top 15. Magny is holding that 15 spot. He is the truest essence of gatekeeper. He's susceptible to calf kicks. He's at a massive striking disadvantage here with Carlos Prates, and I think he's going to end up getting viciously knocked out, especially the fact that he was knocked out in his most previous fight 2 months ago. 2.5 months? Not even. 2 months, 6 days ago. So 2 months ago, excuse me, 2 months ago, I'm choking up, man. Neil Magny losing's got me emotional. He's violently chinned 2 months ago. I guess violently chinned maybe is an over-exaggeration. He's rocked and he's ground and pounded 2 months ago. And now he is fighting one of the most terrifying strikers in the welterweight division, who's on an absolute roll. I think Carlos Prates, representing Fighting Nerds, is next up. I see him with the skill set that can already compete with the likes of an Ian Gary. And if he can stop takedowns and he can stop Neil Magny's clinch work, he's going to get a highlight reel KO. The way he destroyed the Leech last time was violent. Beating Radtke with a knee easy in the fight before. KO and Trevin Giles viciously. I mean, there's a lot to like. Carlos Prates is special. And he's got a lot of experience. It's not like he's only got 10 fights, right? He's 20-6. He's got a lot of experience on that regional scene in Brazil, but he's also got a lot of experience in Muay Thai. He was living in Thailand, just taking fights all the time. I think that Carlos Prates is a very, very bright prospect. And I think that he's on his way to becoming a legit top 15 contender. And I think 2025 is going to be a massive year for him. And also, he's training at Fighting Nerds, which has Caio Borraiho, who's an exceptional grappler, there working alongside him. I think that helps his defensive grappling game massively. So, Carlos Prates, the pick in the main event. I'm going to say he knocks Neil Magny out in the second round. I think violent KO. Minus 700. Holy smokes. The odds are crazy wide. They opened at minus 600. Magny plus 500. Especially a Magny coming off a knockout loss 2 months ago. I think we're going under 2.5 at minus 205. I think Prates picks his shots well. Magny tries to engage, but I think Prates' distance management is pretty good. I feel like Prates' striking, especially from range, is better than Michael Morales', so it could actually be harder for Neil Magny to engage like inside of the clinch and have success like he did very early against Morales, and Prates could catch him cleaner even sooner. Especially when Magny just starts like throwing flurrying shots to close distance without much power. Prates is going to read right through that shit and come with massive counters. Prates is simply too good. Striking is too clean, and I think the takedown defense is going to hold up well, and I think we're going to see Carlos Prates emerge as one of the top guys at welterweight in 2025. And this fight right here is a fight that boots the stock all the way up. So looking forward to it. Carlos Prates to cap off UFC Vegas 100, which altogether, when you really look into it and you watch the video, you're like, all right, this is a pretty damn good card. There's some really good fights, and I think the potential for some violent finishes is super high, and I'm going to predict that entertainment value-wise, this is a better card than UFC Edmonton last weekend, and I'm damn excited for it. UFC Edmonton was incredible, though. If you guys followed the bets last week, if you followed the parlays, I mean, bro, I'm just going to quickly flex it. Absolute W city. So I'm feeling really good about how things went last week with the clean sweep of confident picks and the lock. And I think that this week I'm bringing the fire again. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the picks. I want to hear from the people. Do you have some different ones? I want to hear. The main event, I think most of us will agree, it's Carlos Prates' showcase fight, and I think he's on his way up. He smashed past the gate. He's got the key, bro. Actually, you don't need the key. He's going to kick the gate down, and I think he's violently finishing Neil Magny. Fun card. Looking forward to the week's worth of content for Vegas 100. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Closing in on 40,000 subscribers, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Smash the likes if you really enjoy. Share the video. Send it to a group chat with your buddies. I'm sure that you got some friends that'll like the content too. Thank you guys for the consistent support. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say. I'll see you guys all week long. Much love. Peace out.